Well, Amnesty International has asked the International Criminal Court to begin a probe on alleged atrocities committed in the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria, saying authorities haven't punished those responsible. Well, now to discuss this matter in New York is the security expert Mukhtar Dan Iyan, and he joins us via Skype to talk about this matter. Good to have you on the news hour at this time. So first off, let's start with this. What are your thoughts on the Amnesty International's requests? And do you think, in your view, that the government has perhaps failed in prosecuting those culpable?
My views are that Nigeria is a sovereign state and we are fighting an insurgency against non-state actor combatants. And unfortunately, in the course of such things, we cannot exactly, unfortunately, abide by all the rules and conventions of the Geneva Convention because we don't always know those we are fighting. And it's very likely that there are people who will unfortunately get caught up even though they shouldn't. And at the same time, there are people who are very guilty who get caught up, and then their people now cry that they were wrongly targeted. So overall, in the course of what it is we are facing, I think the Nigerian army has performed admirably well. And I don't think it's any of the business of the ICC to start going after our troops and our commanders because of human rights violations.
All right, Dan. Well, the Amnesty International in its report also said that it received a total of 169 communications from Nigeria. Yes. And the assessment showed that there were war crimes ranging from murder to torture and to intentionally, of course, attacking civilian population. Does it seem rational that security forces will attack civilian population intentionally?
But that's what I'm saying. We are fighting insurgents. We are also fighting insurgents who are able to blend in and out of civilian populations. You can, as a person fighting these individuals, you can raid a community where 40 people are insurgents or insurgent sympathizers, but to all intents and purposes, because they've hidden their weapons in the bush, they appear to be regular civilians, but they aren't. Once the army passes through and does what it does, it's very easy to now, allege that the army targeted civilian populations. And I'm not saying the army has been perfect. Yes, there have been cases where genuine human rights abuses have taken place, but unfortunately, due to the nature of the conflict, due to the nature of the beast, such things are unavoidable.
And talking about addressing these human rights abuses, where you rightly mentioned, the Amnesty International accused the military of, abusing the rights of Boko Haram suspects and, of course, accusing the government of barely doing nothing in this regard. So what would you propose should be the best way in handling this sensitive matter?
Well, my personal opinion is that Boko Haram suspects should be summarily executed, but that's my personal opinion. I think for all things being equal, considering what Boko Haram seeks to do to Nigeria and what it has been doing, the insurgents who are captured and allowed to stay alive should consider themselves extremely fortunate, because heaven knows that when they capture our troops and civilian populations who are not ready to swear allegiance to them, they show no quarter.
All right, Mukhtar Dan Iyan, thank you very much for your insights on TVC News Hour at this time.
Thank you for having me.